it's interesting that the early settlers were able to survive here without finding any surface water, any running water, any streams. But presumably they learned very quickly that we had plenty of rainfall.
The challenge in finding fresh water probably wasn't as difficult as we might think. Bermuda being limestone base, constant precipitation, salt water creates a dynamic where fresh water, or brackish water if you will, can collect in low-lying areas. It just happens to be a fact universally, okay? Now, this limestone that we have here is pretty porous, which allows the precipitation to filter through. Once rainwater filters and gets down low enough to meet salt water, when salt water and fresh water mix in low-lying areas, you have a situation where you can get fresh to brackish water, brackish to fresh water. This dynamic existed here. Now, the early settlers would have come with that knowledge that could possibly be the case.
Well, Bermuda obviously doesn't have any rivers, so we don't have any freshwater supply there. The seawater impact it has, it provides us with supplemental water for some of the private and the government facilities that are actually able to squeeze freshwater out of seawater. That requires quite a lot of energy, quite a lot of running costs, high running costs, and as a result there is a lot of cost associated with getting supplemental water that way. The seawater also contains the freshwater lenses that are held within Bermuda's geology, which is made up from Bermuda's rain. There's a few lenses in Bermuda. The biggest lens is in Pembroke and Devonshire, the central lens, but there's also smaller lenses in Port Royal and in Southampton and in St George's. And we manage and maintain those lenses. We allow people to abstract up to a certain amount from those lenses, and the purpose being, if you over-abstract, there's a risk that the seawater could run in and replace those freshwater lenses. So it's very important that we manage them. So the seawater really is sort of bounding the freshwater that's held within the geology, within the freshwater lenses, that people use, A, for filtering to make potable water, or B, they can use them for other sources. They can take the fresh water out of the ground and use that for irrigation of their gardens, for laundry, using their washing machines, or if they live anywhere in Bermuda and they have a well, they can use it to flush their toilets, assuming they have the appropriate plumbing inside the buildings for that.
Typically in Bermuda, we enjoy Mother Nature to get all of our fresh water. Unlike many places in the world, we're able to catch water on all of our roofs, whether it's a residential, whether it's a commercial, whether it's an industrial building. We catch water on our roofs and store it in water tanks underneath our buildings. There's a couple of other ways in Bermuda that we can get that. There are some lenses in Bermuda that people draw from. People also can dig a well on their properties, again, whether residential or commercial. They can use that water for flushing and or for laundry in their homes, but not for consumption or for drinking. We also have several companies, including the government, that processes water here in Bermuda through two different types of processes. One would be desalination, and the other would be standard reverse osmosis. Not all the island is covered by an infrastructure piping system that carries this water produced by these companies and by government, but a high majority of people in Bermuda have the ability to tap into this water source, to top up their water tanks to assure that they have enough water to live on a daily basis.
How do you ensure your water supply is safe?
Well, the Department of Health manages the freshwater supply through water mains. Any processes, whether it be government or private, have to meet the Department of Health requirements. So they monitor those sources. When you have water in a tank, you're supposed to remove the sediment every 6 years that settles in the bottom of the tank, and you're also supposed to chlorinate it. A lot of people, though, in Bermuda don't chlorinate. So testing is carried out. There is always a risk that bacteria can be present, but some chlorination will obviously address that.
Mostly we use water. We need water for drinking in our food, and we typically will require 2.5 to 3 litres of water a day. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go and drink 2.5 to 3 litres. A lot of that water comes in our food. It's natural. Then we also have washing needs, and it depends a little bit on our cultures, but that may be anywhere from 2 to 6 litres of water. Then we also have our cooking needs, and the same thing again, it depends a little bit on our culture, so we might be looking sort of 3 to 6 litres. So anywhere from about 7.5 litres to 15 litres a day.
Our bodies are made up of about 70% of water if you're a child. So between babies could be 75%, young children 70%, their bodies are made up of water. And then adults, it's more like 60% of water. And depending on certain organs, particularly the water content can go up. And so lungs, heart, brain can have as much as 80% of water. And when you think about those organs not having the water to thrive or to function, then you can see how important it is to our bodies as a whole. If you think of not having running water in your home or not having running water in a school or workplace, then you almost got a shower without any function. To not be able to have a water to drink, to not be able to cook, to bathe, to wash, and to use the lavatory, it almost shuts down the whole operation. So you're not able to function as well in your home without that. And you will see schools and workplaces, if the water's not running, we'll just have to shut down.
So would you rather have one cotton t-shirt or be able to have enough water to drink for 2.5 years? So it actually takes 2,700 litres approximately of water to grow the cotton to make enough cotton for one cotton t-shirt. Basically, it's the cotton as a plant needs fresh water, and so just for the growing of the cotton. Also, there's dye that gets often put into our t-shirts to create designs on the t-shirts. That requires water as well, and unfortunately in that process too, we often pollute many of our water bodies through that dye process.
With climate change, this is one risk. We don't expect there to be more rain or possibly less rain, but what we do expect there to be more variability. So I think what it's going to teach us with climate change is that we need to conserve more water than we do already. I think there's already a good culture in Bermuda of conserving water, and it's something that the developed world is now getting familiar with, but Bermudians have been doing this for many, many years.
It's kind of like water's one of those things that you just take for granted until it's not there, right? All of a sudden your water's not running, it's like, oh man. You know, and then you start to realize all the different things that you're challenged to do in the absence of it. The things we did well in the past is that we lived very simply and we lived very sustainably. And now, in the advent of more technological times, we have to bring that consciousness into our behavior and recognize that although we have access to this great technology, we still need to be mindful, right, of the source of all these resources that we're using and the health of those resources.
How can we ensure that the future generations connect with water and all the other aspects of nature that are so vital for us?